another exciting video from Gobbler Ridge Farms, and today we're going to be doing another cooking video. But as you can see, Jacob and I are not in the kitchen tonight. Tonight we're on a camping trip, and we're going to do a little bushcraft hack, and hopefully you can hear me. I'm going to talk real loud, but as you can see in the opening, we are camped out right on a mountain creek in the Chattahoochee National Forest in North Georgia. So it's a beautiful location to camp with the waterfall and the river or the creek right behind us. It's a tough place to film, so I'll try to be loud here. Today, we're going to do something. When you're out bushcrafting, backpacking, and all these kind of outdoor things, there's a lot of different freeze-dried foods, you know, beef stroganoff, chili, beef stew, and just all other kinds of things out there. But rarely do you get an opportunity to do any baking, bread, muffins, things that are going to give you some energy to be out there when you're out there hiking and bushcrafting and doing those type of things. Now, when I was a kid, I used to love blueberry muffins. And even though I'm typically, or have been back in my triathlon days, very health conscious, I've tried the ones with the real blueberries in there. For some reason, they're just not as good. I love this Martha White blueberry muffin mix with imitation blueberries. That's one of my favorites. So out here camping is going to be a real neat treat, and I'm going to show you how we do it. Now, as I normally say in most of my cooking videos, you can always alter spices and things to suit your taste. So if you have a particular brand, Pillsbury, Betty Crocker, you know, a store-bought brand, a generic brand, homemade, whatever suits your taste, go for it. But we're going to do Martha White blueberry muffin mix. Now, typically when you're cooking in either a billy pot, or if you're using some kind of a jet boil or an alcohol stove or whatever type of a camping cooking setup that you might have, it's hard to do any baking because you have to have convection. You have to have hot air circling like you would in your oven, and you have to have a little bit of a venting that goes on. So what I've come up with here is here's a billy pot. I think it's 64 ounces, something along those lines. This one is stainless steel. I got this from the Pathfinder school. I looked around at a lot of the ones in some of the various outdoor stores, and they really are big into the titanium, which I think conducts heat. It's typically very thin. I don't like the way it conducts heat. This one here is stainless steel, and you can't see it on the video, but this is a substantial pot, and so I really like it. I don't really hike long distances anymore due to some health concerns and things like that. I prefer the camping aspect and going out and doing a bushcraft camp and not doing 20 miles carrying a 30-40 pound pack on my back anymore. So the fact that it's stainless steel and very heavy gauge is perfect for what we're going to be doing tonight. If you're backpacking, maybe not so much, but once you see this recipe, it might be worth the extra weight. Now, like I said, you have to have convection. A couple of things that you can do. You can put some small flat rocks down in the bottom of this to get what you're going to be cooking in off the bottom. Don't use rocks from the river, because they may have a moisture down inside. As they heat up, that moisture can't escape through the pores of the rock fast enough, and it creates an explosion, just kind of like a firecracker right there in your cup. And it probably won't kill you or hurt you too bad, but it could blind you, which would be make bushcrafting tough. Carving when you're blind is not the easiest thing to deal with, so don't use river rocks. All right, this little cup here, and you can find these Army Navy surplus stores. I've seen them in REI. This one's not an REI version. I think theirs has it stamped on here. But I look around for one of these. You can find them at a in a number of places. Sometimes, you know, Wally World and all will have some of the stuff. You got to just look at to see what, you know, what they found as a bargain for. It too is stainless steel, and what I'm going to do is we're going to mix up the muffin mix here in a minute. And because this thing here is flat, it's going to keep this off the bottom of my billy pot here. So what we're going to do is take the blueberry muffin mix, and we're going to mix it into the bowl, which Jacob, we left her over on the table. So on the count of three, let's go get the bowl and have it back here in the video. Okay, you ready? 1, 2, 3. Wow, that was awesome, Jacob. Thank you very much for going and getting the bowl. All right, so what we're going to do is take the mix into this bowl that Jacob just miraculously got. And according to the recipe, you're supposed to put in half a cup of milk. Well, none of my stuff has a measuring thing on here, so I don't know what the scale is. We're going to do this by feel. And one of the things you want to do, you do not want to mix this to a super fine consistency, otherwise it won't rise. So I'm just going to kind of mix this around in there. Hopefully I got it right. And now we're out here camping with his mother and Mrs. Gobbler Ridge. So we do have a car nearby with a cooler. And so this is actually real milk from the cooler. If you're out, you know, in a backpacking, overnight, 3-day bushcraft adventure, whatever you're doing, one of the things you can do is take along some evaporated milk. It's not as good to me sometimes as the real thing, but with a little bit of filtered water and some evaporated milk, you can still do this recipe. We're shortcutting it today though, right? Back up. You see, oh, you can see we took the dog on the bushcrafting adventure. Alright, I might have that a little too thin. Yeah, we'll pour the whole pack in there. If this doesn't work, we'll make another one, right? The power of editing. It's supposed to, because we're going to be cooking on coals. Alright, that looks like a pretty good consistency to me. Actually turned out pretty good, I believe. Alright, that's enough. Now, what I have here is avocado oil. A lot of people like to use olive oil. To me, that has kind of a high flash point. Peanut oil has a very high flash point. That's why if you're you know, deep frying a turkey, I like to use peanut oil. It's a lot cheaper than avocado oil. I'd always use avocado oil if I could, but it's a lot more expensive than peanut oil. So if I'm doing a high volume, a lot of times I'll go with that. But for little things like this, I like avocado oil instead of the olive oil. So I'm going to put a little bit of that. And typically I have a tendency to put more than I should in there, but that's just me. And then I'm just going to smear that around in here because we don't want the muffin to stick. And I don't know that they make muffin cuts to this size. Maybe they do, maybe I don't know. Maybe you could take some parchment paper, but hey, I'm just going to throw some of this oil in here. Stir it around in there real good. Whoop. Hey, you won't be sticky. That's good enough right there. Hold that, Bob Luby. Now this stuff is going to rise, so I'm not going to fill the cup completely up. Hey, that's a great idea. You don't want to be wearing muffin mix, do you? Alright. So I'm going to put about 3 more tablespoons or spoonfuls of that in there. I'm going to fold this over so that this lifts up off of my pot, and I'm going to put this over in there. Now, one other neat thing that I like about this pot, and one of the reasons that I chose it for these kind of activities, is I was looking for something that I could mimic the Dutch oven on. And I think the Dutch oven used to have a flat top, and Paul Revere, well, you know, one if my land, two if I see, his fame and fortune, the Midnight Ride of Paul Revere, it's rumored that he, on the Dutch oven, added this little rim so that you can put the charcoal up here and not have it fall off. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there's a little rim on this particular pot, and I was specifically looking for that when I was out looking for a pot to do this idea. So we'll be able to put that on top there, and the next thing, I believe the coal's in the fire, and we made a little cheat. We used charcoal. Like I said, we're car camping in essence, so that we could bring the girls along. But if you're out on a bushcraft adventure and you're using wood that you found, you know, from the forest, you don't really want to put this on a roaring fire. Let the fire burn down. Get you some coals. Set them off to the side, because we're going to set this on a bed of coals, and then we're going to put coals around the top here so that we have heat all the way around the entire pot. We're trying to mimic an oven here. And so we want our coals to be all the way around it, like a Dutch oven would be. And I don't have a temperature knob on there, so I figure coals are going to be hot enough to do the trick. All right, let's go ahead and get the coals laid out and ready to go, and we'll start this thing cooking. Be right back in just a moment. Okay, I just checked the coals. They're still a little too hot for what I'm going to be doing. So that gives me a chance to tell you about another little hack when you're cooking over a fire. I took the muffin mix out for just a moment. It also gives me an opportunity to maybe show a close-up of this lid. And this is the little rim that I was telling you about, so that you can put your coals up on top of this. And now I have heat coming from the bottom as well as the top. Now, one of the things that happens when you're cooking over an open fire, you get your pots all, you know, black and dirty, and you go to put them back in your pack, and you get soot all in your pack, unless you have, you know, some type of a bag you can put them in. But if you want to kind of keep them a little bit nice and neat, take a bar, and this is just regular ivory soap. You know, the one they say ivory soap, it floats. And I'm just going to take this, and I'm going to smear this all over my pot. It's not going to affect the taste of my food and make me blow bubbles as I'm eating. But what it will do is it will make your pot clean up a little bit easier. Is it still going to get black on the outside? Yes, it will. But it should wipe up a lot better for you if you're going to put it in your pack. Unless you just like that look of the used stainless steel. And so I'm just going to smear some ivory soap on here real good, and then I'll smooth it out here in a second off camera. But you get the idea. Just cover your pot on the outside with ivory soap, and then the blackness that it's going to get from being on the campfire should wipe off for you a lot better. All right. Well, that's this hack, and as soon as the coals are ready, we'll commence with the cooking. Hey, muffins are ready. You want a bite? Here, have a bite. It's an ice cream bar.
It's soap.
Trust me. No, it's an ice cream bar.
No, it's the IV and O.
Oh, okay. Hey, you can't fool this kid. He's the kid who cannot be fooled. Believe me, I've tried. Well, as you can see, I now have the pot on the coals, and then I made giant chopsticks out of a couple of sticks, and I set some coals right up here around the top as well. So I have heat down here from the bottom, and I have heat up here around the top. Now there's a little opening right there where you can pour things out that you've cooked, you know, to help you kind of strain it. The pot wasn't necessarily designed for what I'm doing here. So to make sure that I don't get ashes down in the muffins, I try to stay away from that little opening. So don't just heap ashes up on top or coals up on top of the lid unless you like the flavor. So not exactly sure this is going to match the cooking time from the recipe, so I'm going to give it a little bit and come back and test it out and see if I can figure out when it's ready, and then I'll kind of give you a lowdown on how long I had it on the fire. Now every fire is going to be different, so don't hold me to that any particular times. This will have to be a trial and error thing for you. Depends on what kind of wood you're burning, how hot you've got it, what the moisture content of the so many different things going on there. So it's one of those things you're just gonna have to start cooking it and check it periodically until it's ready. All right, back in a bit. Well, my grandson was putting his shoes on because he got to playing his switch over in the hammock. I told you, we're not bushcrafting it exactly. We do have the car here. Anyway, it's been 15 minutes. The package says 14 to 16, so let's go see what it looks like. That's the only way to do it. Trial and error, experiment with the fire you've got. Judged by the whoo-hoo from the grandson, it looks good.
I can't wait to eat it.
All right, well, let's get it off this fire here.
So that has it in hot. Yeah. Okay, I'm not going to grab it and turn it up towards the camera just yet. I'm going to let it cool. But I can tell you, it's looking good. Can you tell them it's looking good? Yes.
Well, tell them.
Very. It looks very good.
I wish the girls had still been on their hike. We wouldn't have to share this one.
Yeah.
All right, let's set it down to cool. All right, we're gonna let it cool for a couple of minutes, and I believe since we actually have a cooler, we have butter too. Let's get some butter for it. Don't you? This bushcrafting is like tough, isn't it?
But I don't like that.
Oh, you don't like butter on yours?
No.
Man, I'm gonna have to make another one. I'm putting butter on mine. When we're real bushcrafting and when you're 5 miles from the car, then we'll go without butter. But I got a car over here off camera. I'm eating butter. Would you look at that? Would you just look at that? Oh, wow, that looks good. All right, it's a little hot on my fingers below this paper plate, so I'm going to take it out. It looks good to me. Okay, there it is outside the cup. Now, the bottom, it got a little bit burnt, but took a minute for the grandson to get out of the hammock and put his shoes on, so uh-oh. I went over 14 minutes. And that little handle, like I said, you may want to put a rock in there. This is simply remedied by a knife and cutting the edge off. I'll be all right. Hey, I am roughing it, sort of. Okay, luckily the extra batter we have, we're going to try this again. The coals have cooled down a little bit, so maybe the bottom won't be quite as burned on that one. But I've got the cup already ready to go, and so I'm going to show you this one other little hack. These are made for cooking in a Dutch oven and various things. They're made by Lodge, the people who made my Dutch oven, and they're little hot scrapers. They're made out of plastic. They'll fit into a backpack. They don't add any weight to your pack. And when you have rounded bowls, they have so many different angles and edges. It's real easy to take this plastic, so it's safe on a lot of different materials, and I can go in here and just clean this pot up, and it follows the contour wonderfully. And just like that, I'm ready for round 2. But before we get to round 2, how would you like to have a bite of round 1?
All right, give us the taste test. It's hot.
Hot.
It just came out of the fake Dutch oven.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna try a bite. I'll muscle through it.
And also no more because this is mine though.
Hey, wait a minute. I'm gonna give that a thumbs up. All right. Well, there's a quick little simple way that you can do some baking out on the trail. If you don't want to pack a Dutch oven, hey, this little billy pot does just fine for 2 people, right?
Yeah.
They don't want any over there in the audience, right? Okay. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Hope you enjoyed this little hack. And we'll see all you turkeys on the next one. High five. Oh yeah.